So for our song today, I've chosen Auld Lang Syne because it's a great one to be able to play, and this piece of music is quite recognisable by most people, which will help you when learning it. So there are chords as well as a left hand harmony that you can play. If you're struggling too much with the left hand harmony, you can just play the chords, which makes it a bit more simple. With the right hand, there is a harmony, but you don't have to play it. You can just play the top line of melody. But let's take a look. So here's the sheet music for Auld Lang Syne. We have 4 lines of music. Here are the first 3, and there is the 4th. It does look a little bit busy because we are playing 4 notes for most of this melody, but these are just chord notes, which makes it a lot easier. So if I was to add in all of the chords, we are just playing chord notes as we go through the music, but I'll go through that in a moment. So let's take a look at the key signature. Well, we have a B flat. Hopefully you remember what key a B flat is. If not, just pop back to your circle. We know the flats go round to the left, so a C major has no flats, an F major would have 1 flat. And remember, the order of flats starts with B flat, which is the note we've got in our key signature. So we must be dealing with an F major. Now, of course, it could be the D minor. But remember the tip I gave you. Usually the piece of music will end on the root note of the scale that you're dealing with, or the key that you're dealing with. Also, for a lot of sheet music, you start with that note as well. And our first full bar in this piece of music is an F. I can see there is that little C just before it. That's the very first note of the piece. Don't worry about that. That's called an upbeat. That's something we're going to be learning about next week. So for now, just be aware we've got a little extra note at the start of a C, but the first full bar is this F. And also the end of the piece of music ends in an F as well. So we can be pretty sure that this piece of music is an F major. Next, let's take a look at the time signature. Well, we've got a 4/4. Common time, nice and easy, 4 quarter note beats in each bar. Do we have any slurs or ties? No, we don't. Do we have any dynamics to deal with? No, haven't got any on this. You can play it however you like. Do we have any really high or really low notes off the stave that we need to work out? No, we don't. Do we have any extra accidentals? Well, yes, we do. Down here in line 3, we do have a cheeky little E flat there. Now, an E flat is not in the key of F major. So that's why they've had to write it onto the music as an accidental. So they've had to put the flat in there. Now, interestingly, if you look above that E flat, you'll see the chord is an F7. Now, we haven't dealt with 7th chords. You can learn all about those in my other course, the Chord Jammer course. But for your information, an E flat is in an F7. To make a chord a 7th, all you have to do is take the root note of the chord and lower it by a whole step. So if you're on an F and you lowered it by a whole step, you'd be on an E flat. And that's what the 7th chord is. But it's written in there for you, so you don't need to remember that about the chord. And there's that upbeat there that we spoke about, the extra little C at the very start of the piece. Again, don't worry about it. I'll explain those in more detail next week. And the only other thing to notice in this piece is, of course, it has the repeat signs in it, which we've learnt about today, so you shouldn't have a problem understanding what these mean. This is the forward repeat sign, so we don't do anything when we first come to this. When we get to the end of line 4, we see our repeat sign. So that would take us back to the forward repeat, which was the beginning of line 3. So I'll add in line 3 there so you can see it more clearly. So we play along to the end of line 4, and then we go to that first repeat, which is the beginning of line 3. Now, we do have 2 alternative endings here. So number 1 and number 2. Again, we've learnt about these today, so you should know what they mean. But the first time through, we play the first ending, and then on the second repeat, we'll play the second ending. So what we're going to do is we're going to play all the way through line 1, and then we'll play all the way through line 2, and then we play all the way through line 3, and then we play all the way through line 4 until we get to our first repeat. So we're playing that first ending. And then we go back to the repeat, the forward repeat sign at the start of line 3. So we play line 3 again, and then we play all the way through line 4, but we play the second ending. So to start, let's just take a look at that melody. So we'll play just the top line of melody. So I'll take out all of the harmony notes. Now, most people will know how the song Auld Lang Syne goes, but if you don't, you will need to count the rhythm. So do add in your 1, 2, 3, 4. This piece has an 8th note in it. We have dotted quarter notes and 8th notes. So we do need to use 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And remember, a dotted note adds half the value again. So a dotted quarter note, as we see here, is worth 1 beat and a half. So you play that for 1 and 2. And then we see the 8th note, which is worth half a beat. We play that on the and then the last 2 notes are just quarter notes, 3 and 4 and. And if you can't remember how to count the rhythm of a dotted note, if you go back to lesson 11, I do go through it there in a lot more detail. So you will need to think about your fingering a little bit. Now, there's no right or wrong when it comes to fingering. Just do whatever you think is comfortable. And you can kind of make it up as you go along. So because I know I need to get to this D, to start, I'll probably go to the F with my index finger. Now, when you are looking at fingering, it's great when you get a repeated note, because as you may have noticed at the end there, in line 2 bar 3, there's 2 Ds. So if you land on a D, say on your thumb, and you've got to get down to a C, it's great when it's repeated because you can just swap from one finger to the other. So take a look at the melody first, play through it, use the song practice to go through it, and when you're comfortable with that one line of melody, you can add in all of the harmony notes that come with it. Now, when it comes into adding harmony notes, any of the chord notes will work. You don't have to play what I've written there. So in that very first line, we go from C to F. I've added in a C as a harmony note. But the A would work as well, because A is part of the F chord. Both will work, so you can do what you want, but if you do want to copy what I've done, then the notes are written on the sheet music. So let's take a look. So when it comes to practicing this melody, learn the melody line first and then try adding some harmony notes. If we go through the triads in the left hand, we start with C, we go to F, and I'm going to do the smallest movement possible to get from C to F. So I don't want to do this big jump because that's too much. So I'm going to just move up to the F and the A to make that a nice, easy transition. So C to F, back to C, back to F. Now the B flat, it's a B flat, a D and an F. So we could come down here from the F, or we could move to here. You'll have to have a play with it and see which you like. So I'm going to go to here, I think. So F to B flat, back to F, then to C, then to D minor, And then actually for the B flat here, all we have to do is raise our thumb up. That's a much better transition, D minor to B flat, than going D minor down to B flat. So I'm going to go D minor in root position, up to B flat here. F to B flat, back to F, then to C. Now a C7, we did speak about these earlier, but remember to get the 7, all you have to do is move down one whole note from the root. So this is a C. If we were to move down one whole note from this C, 2 half steps, we get to the B flat. So to make a C, a C7, we're just adding in a B flat. So we can either go up to here, or we can go down. I mean, the down is a little bit more tricky, so I'm going to go up. I'm going to go C and add my B flat in here. And then we're going to F. And now we need to go to an F7. So remember, we're going down a whole step from the root note. So the root note is F, 2 half steps, a whole step brings us to E flat. So that's an easy one. If we're in this position on an F major, all we have to do is add in an E flat. And then we go to a B flat. I'm going to go here. And then an F, back to C, a D minor, a B flat, an F major to finish. So you're just going to have to go through these nice and slowly, play all the triads in root position if you want, and then work out what other positions will make it easier to play. And then when you're ready, you can put both hands together. I won't do that for now. I'll leave you to your song practice. Remember, do the melody first, just the top line of melody in your right hand. Then you can add in some harmony notes. You can copy what I've done or add in your own. And then try the triads in your left hand. And when you're comfortable with what you're doing with the triads, then you can put both hands together. I'm not going to play it through to a metronome. I'll play it through nice and slowly. And then I'll leave you guys to practice this, learn the melody first, then add the triads in your left hand, and then try and learn the notes that I've written on this sheet music. And of course, I've got the song practice for you to play along with as you're rehearsing. So I really hope you enjoy learning Auld Lang Syne. It's such a great song to be able to play, and it's not one you're going to be playing in the next few days. It will take you time and practice to get there. But again, you can simplify it down just to the chords in your left hand and the single top melody in your right hand, and add the other elements in when you feel confident.